champion of the world,
Jon Jones, one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time.
To be in my position, it's important to always find things to motivate you. To always have something to light that fire under your butt.
It's one of the best things that ever happened to me in my MMA career. There's really not much I could do bigger than this in MMA, becoming a UFC champion and becoming a Hall of Famer.
But with Jon Jones comes a big problem.
Look, here's the problem with Jon Jones. Less is more.
There's human beings that have different temperament and different minds and different mentality and a ruthless competitive drive that's almost terrifying to the ordinary person. That's Jon Jones.
I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you never forget the night you stepped in the octagon with me.
And you know what's going to be your sad reality is that everything in your power will not be enough because I'm still going to beat you.
We'll see.
Jon Jones is a bad guy who's trying to be a good guy.
Level of education that you count that as a fight.
I whooped your
Well, I'm glad
ass.
you won this one because you're not winning the next time I get my hands on
I
you.
whooped your ass just now.
Okay.
I embody the spirit of a martial artist, the heart of a martial artist, what it truly means to be a martial artist. I'll give up my arm, I'll give up an eye, I'll give up a toe. It doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do to stop me, Daniel Cormier.
It doesn't change the fact that, guess what? When this is all said and done, you'll go back to being broke and being a loser as you are.
All right, gentlemen, we've been over the rules.
Because I thought, without a shadow of a doubt, that I would take him down at will.
I challenge you to get me down 5 times in that 5-round fight. You won't be able to do that. Maybe you will get me down once. I believe in my whole heart that I'll get you down too. But the difference is, when I get you down, your face will open up. There is nothing you can do to stop me from coming at you round after round with the most malicious techniques I know. You will lose this fight, Daniel Cormier. I want you to believe it. Every ounce of training you put in leading up to this fight will be a waste of your life.
I don't know how to judge a fight, so, you know I lost, and Jon won. That's pretty much all it boils down to. It doesn't matter if it's closer or if it's not. You know, he won the fight.
In your absence, the mythology has grown. You didn't do an open workout. How many new wrinkles have you added to your game? What are we going to see tomorrow night?
Guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm so blessed, so honored to be back on this stage.
We finally got him to come back. He can stop running. I'm going to kick his ass this time.
I feel like I'm a completely different fighter than I used to be, a lot more mature and just, I don't know, I've just added a lot of things to my game, and I'm excited to go out there and put it all out there on display.
It's been a while since you've been the champion. How excited are you for tomorrow night?
Referee Big John McCarthy has called a stop to this contest at 3 minutes, 1 second of the 3rd round.
What it boils down to for me is competitively, I need to get this loss back.
Declaring the winner.
What drives me is, I set out a long time ago to be known as the greatest fighter ever. I've been saying the same thing since, when I won my first title, becoming the youngest champion in UFC history.
You junior college dropout?
Yeah, that's why I have $10 million in the bank. He had some preconceived notions about me.
DC, was it the same for you? Right from the very start, you didn't like him?
I guess maybe when we got into that press conference fight, I never was truly the biggest fan of his, but it was never what it is now.
By knockout!
It hasn't been a while since I've been a champion. I'm a champion as I stand here. The work is already done.
And now, and again, the new undisputed.
I thought the fight was going well. I don't even know what happened. It's like I got kicked in the head. Oh man, I'm so disappointed.
You let your family down. You let your peers down, your co-workers down. You let yourself down. It's never over. As long as you never quit, it's never over.
What can you say at all about this and the rivalry between you and Jon?
I don't know, man. I guess if you win both fights, there is no rivalry, so I don't know.
After being crowned champion, Jones tested positive for anabolic steroids and was stripped of the title for the 3rd time.
But UFC 214, just a couple weeks ago, the main event, Jon Bones Jones won his title from DC, Daniel Cormier, but has failed a drug test.
He disqualified himself by taking a steroid before the fight, so it didn't happen. So now I get the belt back. I can say whatever I want. If I believe it in my heart, then I will say it. And yes, I do believe he's done it for a long time. You don't cheat the sport. You don't cheat the fans. You don't cheat me. You have all the physical advantages, sir. You're 30 years old. You're 6'4". You've got 85-inch reach. I'm 38 years old. Yeah.
This was just one of many cases. In 2015, he faced a felony charge for leaving the scene of an accident involving deaths and injuries.
I've always had a good time hanging out with you, but I was very disappointed with you with that car accident thing.
Yeah.
When you ran away from that car accident.
Yeah.
That to me was like, God damn, John's in a bad place.
Yeah, I was in a bad place. It was a messed up situation.
And they ultimately arrested Jon for misdemeanor battery, domestic violence, and injuring and tampering with a vehicle, which is actually a felony charge.
Just really in this position where I felt so untouchable, and I just felt like everything was meant to go my way in that time of my life.
Jon Jones is currently sitting behind bars in the Clark County Jail right now.
That morning I got in a car accident, man, it was a huge reality check. And it was, I think in some people's mind, they envision me, hitting this car and running up and seeing that it was a pregnant lady and then taking off running.
If these allegations are true, it's just really scary to think about if you're not trained, not a fighter, not a man, and then you're dealing with that. So
drinking, every weekend pretty much, to the point of blacking out.
Blacking out?
Yeah, just being hammered, and just being a total party boy.
Jon Jones was tested out of competition on December 4th. When he was tested, he tested positive for cocaine. He was then again tested on December 18th.
And the result came out negative. This time, the substance was out of his system before the fight.
He was negative for PEDs.
Years. You've been involved in a lot of crazy shit, What are you disappointed in yourself with a lot of this stuff?
Yeah, I am. I totally am.
Just one mistake destroyed the reputation of one of the greatest mixed martial artists to ever fought in the octagon. And he's just one of many athletes who destroyed their reputation or ended their careers because they couldn't control themselves. Question now is, how can you work so hard to achieve your dreams and just as you're getting to your peak?
Then when I was winning all these fights, I was the it boy in the UFC, sponsored by Nike and Gatorade, and, greatest of all time, finishing legends after legend after legend.
You lose control, and in the end, you lose everything you ever worked for. Performance-enhancing drugs, shortly known as PEDs, are substances that are used to improve any form of activity performance in humans. Just as the name implies, when these substances are used by athletes, it can greatly improve their overall athletic performance, giving them an increase in strength, endurance, and a lean body mass while reducing body fat.
One little thing makes all the difference. Right. From a performance standpoint, yeah, he probably would have done a little bit better, but it's not because the drugs were in him per se, it's because the drugs that were in him allowed to train more. So the reason he was a fitter rider the second year was because his watts per kilo were higher because of how much more he trained. The drugs enabled him to train that much harder.
Yeah, that's what it does. It allows you to train harder so you recover better, so you have more output.
On the other hand, narcotics, commonly known as narcos, are drugs known for three main things: analgesia, which means pain relief; narcosis, a state of stupor or sleep; and addiction, physical dependence on the drug. The main therapeutic use of narcotics is for pain relief. When used in legal context, narcotics are illicit drugs, hence highly prohibited under the law. Few examples of narcotics are morphine, codeine, heroin, oxycontin, cocaine, tramadol, and so much more. When these drugs are taken, some will make you feel more awake, alert, and energetic, while others will give you a calm, relaxed feeling.
It just gave me a sense of peace that I didn't have to worry about stuff anymore. I just wanted to be free.
It numbed me to the point of I felt totally content.
The first time I tried heroin, not only did I like it, I loved it.
You start chasing that buzz again. You want that feeling.
You said, I'll never be happy. I believe I'll die alone. I would want it that way.
I woke up once and my world was never ever the same. And that's when I realised that I was physically and mentally addicted to it.
Well, that's just how an addict talks. You know, when addicts are high and addicts have an addiction, they talk like that. Everything's extreme. If I don't get my way, it's the world's the end.
You're almost invincible.
The obsession to win and keep winning have led so many athletes into the world of drugs just to get there faster.
I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. I'm trying not to focus on that right now because of, Saturday, but yeah, it's bad. He's got to go through, the process now, and we'll see how this thing plays out.
This is why anti-doping agencies were brought into sports to protect athletes' fundamental right to participate in doping-free sports and thus promote health, fairness and equality for athletes worldwide. In most sports, PEDs are banned because it gives athletes who takes them an unfair advantage, especially in sports like football, basketball, all kinds of racing, boxing, MMA and so much more.
That if you take steroids, you will have, you will hit that many, home runs, or you will run this fast or lift this much.
Doping tests are performed on urine and blood samples, depending on the substances being tested. The frequency and type of testing varies between sports based on a variety of factors like the history of doping in the sport, the type of sport, and duration of the season. Penalties for a doping violation vary greatly between sports. A single violation can result in a ban from sports competitions for up to 2 years, while a second violation may result in a lifetime ban. The punishment for a first offense anti-doping violation in the NFL is a 4-game suspension, in the NBA, a 5-game suspension, and the NHL, a 20-game suspension. If there are no penalties for doing something wrong, everyone would keep doing these things. This is why these penalties are put in place. But as humans, one way or the other, we'll surely be tempted. It's either we learn the easy way or the hard way. Maria Sharapova, the former world #1 female tennis player.
I was born in Russia, went to the United States as a 5-year-old with my father, and I had a small talent, and my dad had a big vision, and I followed his steps and his guidance. And at 17 years old, I was playing the finals of Wimbledon and on the biggest stage of my career, essentially, against Serena Williams. And
she failed to pass a drug test at the Australian Open in 2016.
When I got the email that I made this violation back in March, my first instinct was, I need to go out to the world and I need to tell the truth and what actually happened.
Because she was using a substance called meldonium, a performance-enhancing drug which increases and improves blood flow while boosting the endurance of athletes. But health-wise, is used to treat lack of blood flow to parts of the body, particularly in cases of heart failure. So in her defense, she had been taking the drug for 10 years for health reasons.
To notify me of new prohibited substances, especially when someone was taking a substance that was completely legal for 10 years, and from one day to the next it becomes illegal and you have no notices, no emails, no direct communication.
Regardless of her disputes, she received a 2-year ban from competing in tennis, which was later reduced to 15 months.
What about getting back to the sport and getting back to the top of the sport? You're going to turn 30 just before you take to the court again.
Yes.
Can you get back into top form?
Diego Maradona, the famous Argentine football player, tested positive for 5 variants of ephedrine, a drug used to increase energy and alertness, in addition to losing weight, by speeding up your metabolism.
I never thought in my lifetime that I would see anyone come remotely close to Diego in terms of ability with a football.
This was in the 1994 World Cup.
He's done it! Maradona!
He was banned from the tournament and suspended for 15 months.
¿Qué pasó? No, listo, estás afuera. Estás afuera y estamos afuera. Y salimos. Y al minuto se escuchó como un alarido, un desahogo y un golpe seguramente.
But this was not the first time he was caught doping. Prior to this, in 1991, 3 years ago, he was banned for 15 months for testing positive for cocaine, and later that year he was arrested for possessing half kilo of cocaine, which resulted in a 14-month suspension.
Que habían encontrado a Diego con 2 o 3 amigos y algunas chicas, no sé, como no recuerdo bien, y que lo habían detenido porque lo habían encontrado drogado, porque había droga.
After a suspension from the World Cup, he came back to play football, but barely 2 years later, he failed another drug test, by this time he was already 37 years of age, so he decided to retire from football.
Yo la verdad que no sé con qué pagarle, la verdad. Yo traté de ser feliz jugando al fútbol y hacerlos feliz a todos ustedes. Creo que lo logré y la verdad que hoy no me lo esperaba.
A similar case to Maradona is Anderson Silva, a Brazilian mixed martial artist currently holding the record for the longest title reign in UFC history at 2,457 days, which started in 2006 and ended in 2013.
For the people talk to me and my legacy, the people respect my legacy, and I'm very excited for fight because this is my power, this is my energy.
This, our main event of the evening. Black trunks for Nick Diaz.
For the contest, 49-46, 50-45.
Anderson Silva. Champion and champion.
A fighter is now tested positive for a drug in UFC 181, UFC 182, and US 183. What is going on?
This is definitely one of those situations that the UFC is now on the ropes.
Both Anderson Silva and Nick Diaz fail drug tests.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Anderson Silva tested positive for having steroid in his system, while Diaz tested positive for marijuana.
Anderson Silva has a 1-year suspension. Nick Diaz is likely to get a similar hefty fine and suspension.
A more recent case is the case of Paul Pogba. The French footballer who was at the peak of his career at the age of 31. Just one mistake led him down a dark path.
Breaking news in the last few minutes or so that Paul Pogba banned from football for 4 years after failing a drugs test last year.
In his defense, it wasn't a deliberate act, but however, a 4-year ban was given to him.
Yeah, it has now been confirmed that Pogba will be banned for 4 years. He won't be able to play until 2028.
Which means he will not be allowed to play professional football again till he turns 35. Making good use of his 4-year suspension, Pogba has gone into filming to pass time and will star in a French film to be released in 2025. Remember Jon Jones? He's now 37 years of age. Still feels just like the old days to fight, and currently is on his redemption arc. Anytime soon, we could see him back in the octagon.
As a ball player, I make plenty of decisions every game, but the best decision I ever made affected my entire life. I decided to give up drugs, and for me, it was a life-saving choice. As a young person, you make decisions every day. Don't let drugs ruin your future. Make the right choice. Say no to drugs.
Now, world football has been shocked today by the news that one of the greats, possibly the greatest player we have ever seen, Diego Maradona, has passed away at the age of 60.